A very good Monday morning to you, and welcome to Manchester, where today it's a grey, miserable, damp January morning. Over the weekend we've had a little bit of the white stuff which we were promised floating down the country from the west side of Scotland, and indeed it arrived, so it was lovely to see. It didn't last long, as it doesn't tend to do here in Manchester. It was washed away by the rain. So let's move along. Busy day today, so I'm going to make this a short one. What I'm going to talk about obviously is watches and two of our hopefully favourite brands. The indisputable champion of the ring, of course, Rolex, and Omega, Mr. Bond's favourite watch. Now, as you've probably seen from the title, I've kind of compared each to the mobile phone industry, solely on the basis that many of us, when we're doing comparisons that other people understand, we talk about watches and cars. Well, I thought I might kind of bring it up to date a little bit and talk about watches and how they equate to mobile phones. So let's kind of move along. So the two that are in the ring dueling today are those two. Obviously the Rolex Hulk and my beautiful, beautiful Omega Seamaster 300 Professional. So, why am I drawing this comparison? Well, where I'm kind of coming from here is my take on this, and all my videos are solely my opinion and my take on everything. I don't view myself as an expert, and I don't view myself as what Archie loves to call a pretend guru. I'm just somebody who enjoys watches and will put their spin on how they see things. So, in the title you saw that I put our friend Rolex being Apple, and our friend Omega, and indeed everything else really in this kind of prestige level of watches other than Rolex, are Android. Now, why do I say that? Well, everybody who believes that Rolex is the best are absolutely right, and let me tell you for why. Rolex are the best in one thing and one thing only: marketing. They are absolute and utter masters at it. What you have here, and I will throw in a car reference, what you have here is the 911 of the watch world, the Porsche 911 of the watch world. In effect, nothing has changed for 40 years. Anybody who doesn't know a lot about Porsche 911s will say, as each model comes out, well, it's exactly the same. What have you changed? And everybody who doesn't know a lot about watches will see a subby and say, well, it's exactly the same. What have you changed? So what you're looking at is a watch that hasn't changed more or less over the last 40 years. It is recognisable as a subby. It is the archetypal diver, and anybody who wants to put a diver out there either plays an absolute and utter nod to this by making stuff that looks so similar it's untrue, or put subtle little nods in there because they recognise this as the best marketed watch in the world. So why is everything else Android? Well, everything else Android is because it is everything else. So let's bring this back to mobile phones. As you know, I try not to be a fanboy of anything. I try to be fair, I try to be objective, and so on and so forth. So my mobile phone is, although it's a decent brand, it is a Lenovo, is Android. Why does that apply to watches? Well, people say this is the best for the same reason. They say that the iPhone is the best. And I believe that is two reasons. One, because it was more or less the first of its breed, of the kind of watch or smartphone that did all the things that we recognise are excellent qualities in prestige divers or prestige smartphones that not only will allow you to make phone calls and send texts, but basically have a small computer in your pocket. Now, why therefore is this Android? Well, this is Android because it is everything else. And I put them side by side, and I'll tell you for why. Let me firstly put my fair hat on. Let me say this. I love my Rolex. I have two. I love them to bits, and I enjoy wearing them greatly. Do I feel that they are so much better than this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the reason I say that, and I will refer back to my mobile phone analogy, is I love the way the new iPhones look, especially the 5S. I thought the 5S was kind of the pinnacle of the design of the iPhone. All my children have Apple products. My son, who did a degree in movie, television and radio production, has all Apple kit, because apparently that's what the professionals use. And I'm a great fan of how they look and how they're produced and how delightful they feel in their hand. But this is where the book comes in. I have not met anyone yet, who's been able to demonstrate to me that an iPhone can do any more than this in any way. And I get all the standard arguments. Well, you know, Apple are the best. Well, that's a matter of opinion, as it is about Rolex. It can sync up to everything else. Well, Android can now sync up to everything else using Google Plus, etc. So that doesn't really float. So as I say, I've got to come up with anybody yet who can tell me that Apple is so far advanced than anything else as far as Android is concerned that justifies their place as being the best. So, with those two, although this is newer, of course, I don't believe that this is so much better than this. Yes, there are subtle differences, of course there are. I covered the 904L and the 316L stainless steel in a previous video, but apart from that, they both have good quality movements, they both tell the time, they're both COSC, they're both certified professional divers. This one actually has the far nicer bracelet, in my view, and I think you will find a lot of video reviews out there saying the same thing. So, does this do far, far more than this? No, it doesn't. It does everything that it's required to do and nothing more than that. So, why is this better? Well, this is better because it is the best, as I said at the beginning of the video, at marketing. And the iPhone was pushed out there to be the best for two reasons. One, because it was the first of its type, as this more or less was. And I know we've got the blank pound 50 fathoms, I appreciate that, but this has lasted the test of time. And the other reason why Apple are viewed to be the best, it was what we used to call in sales the USP, the unique selling point, which, God love him and God rest his soul, although apparently he was a bit of an egotist, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs did a magnificent job of marketing his product, which is exactly what Rolex do. So Rolex is Apple for exactly the same reasons. Nobody will ever convince me that this does a better job than this, and this is Android, because it isn't as viewed as prestigious as this. It does exactly the same as I can see as this. It's just that this is marketed massively, wonderfully and expertly around the world. And this is marketed relatively recently, and I say relatively recently because of course it's only since the Pierce Brosnan days that Omega has been the Bond watch on the movies. You see the name of Rolex absolutely everywhere. You don't quite see the name of Omega as much. So there you go. Rolex is Apple, Omega, and everything else in this tier are Android. What do you think, people? Do you agree? Are you a little bit like me that you think that the Apple products are brilliant? They look superb. They seem to do every single job that they are asked to do seamlessly. And although you agree, personally, if I didn't own one of these, I would be thinking, well, hang on a minute, you know, if this is £6,000 and a new, say, Planet Ocean, for instance, is £4,000, does it justify the difference? My point of view would be, no, I don't think it does. And that is exactly the same with my view of between Apple phones and Android phones. They all serve a purpose. They do the same things, perhaps in a slightly different way, i.e. the Rolex in-house movement and the Omega coaxial movement that they use now. But in effect, they will all do the same thing, slightly in a different way, perhaps slightly changing the appearance of each because each watch is slightly different to fit their own movement in, or colour ranges or whatever. But that is where I stand. Apple, a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant product, well made, well manufactured, well designed, and more than that, magnificently marketed. Android, more affordable, well made, well put together, great software, massively available software that works across a platform, and is generally that little bit cheaper. So there you go. Rolex and Omega, Apple, Android. What do you think? See if you agree with me, let me know. And if you don't agree with me, if you're one of these people that has absolute concrete proof that this is so much better than this, or your iPhone 5S or the iPhone 6 is so much better than this, let me know. Let me know why. And it has to be provable. It has to be provable. So that's it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I've not had a look at my figures or anything today, so I don't know whether anybody new has joined. I do apologise. I will check later on. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you do, if you have enjoyed it and you like it, give it a thumbs up. If it's your first time here, and you think, actually quite interesting this, I wonder if he does anything else like this. I do all sorts of stuff like this, and I do all sorts of other stuff as well. Have a look in the back catalogue. You might think some of my stuff you have to wear a tinfoil hat for, but hey, that's just the way I'm wired. And if it is your first time here and you are enjoying it, feel free to subscribe. Questions, queries, answers to this one down below, opinions to this one, but your opinions have to be supported a little bit. Don't just say Rolex is the best or iPhone is the best, because it is. Anybody can do that, of course they can. So down below, as always, suggestions for this kind of nonsense, by all means down below, most welcome. I have got a video coming up, and it was suggested by somebody via a comment that I had to one of my videos, and I can't find it. And if I don't find it, when I make the video, I will kind of give you a name check without giving you a name check, and I do apologise because it's a great subject, but I will search through and try and find it, and that's coming up fairly soon. It's going to be quite an interesting one, and I hope we'll bring quite a lot of feedback on it. So for now, that's it guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Bye bye.